Hey guys, here's your weekly reading. Sorry I'm a few days late. I had some laptop issues. We had to send it off to repair, so we had a few setbacks. Anyways, so to start for this week, there's only a few days left in the week, but I'm going to do a reading anyways. And so starting off, just going to reverse half the deck and see what comes out. Sorry if you see the cable, it's my headphone cable. Maybe popping in and out. So let's see. Any messages for this week? Okay, so I'm doing this upright for you guys. So we have the Squire of Love, the Demiurge, Two of Wisdom reversed. I would say for the Squire of Love to come out, There's a few challenges here this week, it looks like. For the Two of Wisdom reversed, the Demiurge, the Squire of Love. The Cathar Tarot has the Demiurge as sort of like, what could you say, I guess, sort of, it's not always perfectly like analogous to a regular Rider-Waite deck, but the Demiurge is sort of like this concept of an illusion, of delusion also. Maybe there's a challenge this week of, I guess you could say, well, let me double check with the deck here. Yeah, there's something maybe this week that's going to really draw out some passions, some really strong desires, and there may be sort of a challenge for you to stay straight, to consider the right path, because there's going to be some kind of decision for you, some challenge to consider yourself first over others. It may draw you out into a situation that can cause some trouble for you. The Squire of Love is an opportunity here this week to study, to learn, to take some information in from your surroundings. And the Two of Wisdom reversed, I would say, is a challenge this week to be cautious. In the book, the two usually comes through as kind of a blockage, but since it's reversed, there's a challenge to really watch your money, your finances, your spending. Maybe an opportunity where you are looking to put your money in a couple of different places, but it may end up overextending yourself. So really keep an eye on your finances this week. Keep a balance, keep track of your spending, be a little extra cautious about, making sure, like if you have a bank account, making sure that you're keeping track of all the bills that you're paying this week, so that in case you look at your bank account and you see there's money there and you're ready to spend it, make sure that that money isn't already committed to something else. Make sure you haven't already submitted a transaction and it hasn't gone through. I'm getting the feeling like that is coming through this week. So double check, making sure that you haven't overcommitted your assets, your finances. The other challenge here, like I said, an opportunity to really be your true self, to help others. A challenge to really consider what's your purpose, what's your desire here. Is it to help others? Is it to help yourself to get what you want? I know this sounds kind of shallow in terms of advice, but in general, these kinds of opportunities are really, I think, talking about what is the long-term goal you have. Sometimes we can get swept up in worrying about money, swept up in worrying about short-term gains, short-term gratification, aesthetic pleasures that can be given to us, really quickly, short-term. And instead, the challenge here is to focus on what's the long-term goal. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? Is it just some money in the bank, or is it a positive effect that you can have on others? A lot of people look for power, for influence. But what do you want to do with that power and influence? Do you want to make the world a better place? Do you want to improve everyone's chances? Do you want to improve everyone's lifestyle? There's a challenge this week to help you to see that opportunity that you have, to help understand what your gifts are for. And that challenge is going to be happening this week. And then the last one, like I mentioned, maybe a learning experience for you, some study work, some book work, some reading. Overall, I would say, let's see what some other cards say first really quick. Seems like overall this week there's some questions about integrity. What are you here for? What's your truth? What are your desires really being given to you for? Are they to just take care of some short-term things? Here we go. So the alligator comes out. Maybe this is some time also this week to really process some experiences that you've been having lately emotionally, letting them kind of sink to the bottom, really soak in to your experience and allow yourself to really digest and process emotionally what's happening. Sometimes, like I said, we can get swept up into some short-term goals, and that can a lot of times be as a result of some underlying unconscious emotions that we're experiencing. It could be loneliness, it could be some disappointments, it could be some depression, and as a result, in that state of mind, in that feeling, in that emotion, before we get a chance to process it, before we get a chance to let it really sink in and communicate, where those emotions are coming from, what's triggering those emotions, we may act on them kind of instinctively. And instead, the alligator pushes us to allow those feelings to settle a little bit before making decisions, before really committing to a cause, to really question long-term, what our emotional behaviors are, what's triggering us, what's pushing us to make these kinds of decisions. So I would say overall this week is a challenge to look at the long term. Consider if you have plans, projects, dreams, even just some 6-month plans that you have for this year. Consider we're reaching the middle of the year soon. This is a time to really reassess where you're at spiritually, emotionally, to really see, are you in alignment with your long-term goals, or are you taking compromises? Are you making compromises in order to get something in the short term, and that's taking away from these long-term goals? So it seems like this week is a real check-in to really see where you're at emotionally, to guard yourself against some, I guess you could say, some temptations. I don't want to get into like, some like, what's the word, kind of being hard on yourself about, I don't know, making a bad decision or whatever. It's not really about that. It's about, who you really are at the core of everything. Are you willing to sacrifice some short-term gains in order to get where you want to go in life, in order to help the people that you need, that you feel called to help? Sometimes it requires being more responsible in the long term. So that's it for the week. It seems like this challenge is really just to check in with yourself emotionally, allow that stuff to settle before making some decisions, slow things down a little bit, allow yourself to get some bigger perspectives, and it looks like this week should turn out pretty well for you. Long-term goals, just an inspiring little comment here. Long-term goals, a lot of times we don't really see some real tangible physical evidence that the work that we're doing is having an effect, whether that's an effect on your actual life and the circumstances in your life, or if it's an effect on the other people around you. Sometimes we can get caught up looking at let's find some tangible physical evidence that I'm making some headway here, that I'm making some progress, and sometimes it doesn't appear right away. Sometimes we have to take a breather, kind of reassess our situation and not get too frustrated and caught up in the fear that it's not happening yet, hasn't come to pass, I don't see any evidence that anything has changed, and I'm starting to feel these fears or these insecurities about what I'm doing with my life. Don't let that get to you. Recognize that sometimes there's I like to call them like a pivot. Sometimes you make changes, and you move, and you have momentum, and these decisions that you make take you on a path. And sometimes when you're feeling like you're stuck, it's a situation where actually the world is kind of moving around you as you're slowing down and experiencing maybe some friction, some resistance. There's situations around you that are moving and maybe even aligning for the better. So don't lose hope. This week, find some inspiration for yourself in the long term. Really consider what's driving you forward. If you're doing the long nights of work, if you're exhausted, if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling attacked, take some time to really inspire yourself. Reconnect with those visions, with those dreams that you have, and that should really help you to get some more fuel and keep going. So you guys have a good week, and I'll be releasing my my third part of the series on the 12 zodiac signs. Should be tomorrow sometime, and I'm working on some chart interpretations too. So I look forward to hearing you guys' feedback, and I will talk to you soon. So peace.